Agenda. So welcome to the
Perfect. I just have
9:30
to turn my,
call. We're so excited to have an update from one of the work groups on the early childhood agenda. So Hillary, I will turn things over to you and just tell us a little bit about you and how you came to be in your current role. You should be able to share your screen. So we look forward to the update.
Thank you so much. Marissa's going to help me out here.
Great.
Hi, everyone. I am Hillary O'Doy. I am the facilitator for Work Group 8. So we are working on the public awareness campaign. We had our 10th work group live meeting, open meeting yesterday, and we've been meeting twice a month beside that with a variety of really incredible key players to design our campaign. So we want to share with you today the progress that we've made. We are very close to launch, and we have some questions for you about how we can incite engagement and participation, and also to get some focus on how to launch and how to get a list of people to send this to, because we want to make sure it ends up in the right hands and it has kind of a life of its own as it moves throughout our state. So Marissa's going to click on the slides and move forward, and we're going to share this. We want to share about 15 minutes worth of content. And then we really hope to end with questions and feedback. So I am right now a classroom teacher at Charlestown Nursery School. I have over 30 years experience in the field as a director, every classroom teacher. I stayed at home forever, had family childcare in my home a little bit. So I've had every hat on imaginable. I've worked with many populations, including children with special needs, and I'm currently on the Boston area Reggio Inspired Network Barron, the board, and am working very excited to be working on this project to talk about high quality. So our public education campaign is to really kind of close the gap in what our understanding of high quality early learning experiences are. So we expect to cover every aspect of the field, whether it be teachers, caregivers, parents, grandparents, healthcare providers, legislators. We want everyone to really be involved in this campaign. So I believe everyone should put in the chat if you're a number 1, a number 2, and number 3. Is that what this prompt is here, right? But I am a number 1. I see children every day, so I work with 3 to 5-year-olds.
Or people can also rename themselves. So if you
Oh,
go
there you
to the
go.
rename, so I'm a 3, so I just did it.
Thank you so much for doing that.
Sorry, one second. I don't know how, but somehow I have a marker up on my screen and it's
Yeah, I
not
noticed
letting
that.
me, it's not letting
That's
me
pretty
advance the
fancy. I
screen.
think you maybe clicked on your whiteboard or something. I don't know.
I
That's a
think
new
so.
9:30 call situation.
All right, there we go.
I'm
I
in
got
a
rid of
meeting,
it.
buddy.
That was scary.
All right. So in our team, we have myself as the facilitator. Marissa has been an incredible key player here. And we have Liz Hogrell on our team, as well as Patty Santos as our lived experience leaders. And as I said, we meet twice a month in between our live meetings. So it's been a joy to work with these lovely women. Our overall goal, as I mentioned, is to develop a comprehensive public awareness campaign that really establishes community-wide recognition of the importance of high-quality experiences and young children's optimal growth and development in early childhood, again, across the board, not just focused in family childcare programs. Yes, those, but everybody who's in the life of a child, this campaign is for. We have spent a lot of time as, do we have action items? Do we want this to be an advocacy piece where we're, forcing this stuff to the legislation? And the answer is absolutely yes. But first, we really believe the importance is to kind of align the thinking about what high quality experiences are and what's the most important part. So we've spent the last really 10 months, 10 meetings, really parsing down all of the information that everybody thinks should be in the campaign and coming down with subheaders, but I'm jumping ahead. So Marissa's got this all laid out. Next slide. So our journey has been to review, as we said, August and September, to really review and to kind of parse down everyone's recommendations about what this should include. We've used Group Map and all kinds of tools to just really get feedback about what everybody believes is high quality early childhood. We have refined this down to a very succinct list of key points, which is a pretty expansive list, I believe, that covers across, the field and the experiences of the child. We shared our initial drafts at our early spring convening. We're really looking forward to the fall convening in October to share. It is our hope that between September and October, mid-September, we do have a launch. And then we have created the first round of content, I would say, and we've paused on creating the additional content because we want to see how effective what we've created is, and we'll make amendments to the rest of the content as we move forward. So our hope is that at least by December, we will have all the content created, and then that way the campaign can live on as far as it would like to past December. But we plan to have all the content created so this campaign can have a life of its own. What we're doing right now, and again, I'm jumping ahead because my head has just got so many things in it that I want to share with you, but we're going to be creating the campaign in a Google slide deck, and we're handing it over to Neri and Tanya to put it into Canva. So there's this really clear process of like screening to make sure we have, everything checked, anti-bias checked, all of our reflections, our language is correct. So we've got this beautiful process of creating content, having it being passed over to Neri and Tanya for fine tuning, and then launching, and then really we'll be meeting very frequently to talk about engagement and responses. So we really are hoping to make sure that we're getting that engagement piece. All right, so next slide.
I'm going to add just one piece.
Yes,
to Hillary.
please.
So Hillary's going to talk a lot about the social media campaign that we've been working on as a work group. But beyond that, I think there have been some other topics, potential areas of work, areas of opportunities that have come up in our work group conversations. So one of the things that we've been encouraging all the work groups to do is to kind of pull together what those recommendations may be and to think about them, and then to eventually, we're going to talk about them at the October convening and then eventually finalize those recommendations. So one of the pieces that we'd love to talk with you all about today is just a general overview of what those areas are that we've started to talk about in our work group, and to get some feedback from you all on if those are the right pieces, if there's something else we should be considering, and if there's anything else that you would like to kind of add to that list. So the next few slides really go into that, and then we're going to run through the social media campaign, which is one of those components.
Thank
And
you.
Hillary, if you want me to, I can go through these ones quickly.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you so much.
Sounds good. So the first thing we did as a work group was really look at the landscape in early childhood, and that I think there's a lot of examples of public awareness campaigns, both in Massachusetts and statewide, or just examples of, organizations that have really worked on messaging around early childhood, especially, the brain science and development in the first 5 years of life. And how do you translate that into something that's easily digestible for families and for people who maybe don't have extensive experience in early childhood? So pulling together a lot of those resources and examples. And I think one of the areas that we are currently thinking about with the new Instagram page is like, how do we amplify existing materials and campaigns? But then also, how do we think about opportunities to collaborate and inform design of future public facing campaigns and platforms?
Exactly.
So whether it's something that the EEC in Massachusetts, the Department of Early Education and Care, is developing and needs some support with, or if it's a campaign that another organization is working on, how do we support that? We've also definitely identified a need to gather lessons learned and best practices. I think that our work group has a lot of assets, and we're working really hard to develop this. And also, we're not marketing geniuses, and it's not any of our expertise. So
Exactly.
learning more about what works well, what are some of the best practices, what has been effective across the country, is going to be really important moving forward. And then it definitely has highlighted a need for clear and consistent branding of early childhood at the local level. So I think one of the things that we hear constantly is that, families have a really hard time understanding where to go, knowing what resources are available to them, what programs and services exist. And, I think the example that has really stood out to me was sort of this let's imagine there was like a seal on all early childhood related programs and services in Massachusetts, something that was like clear and consistent, that families knew meant that it was within this sort of the sector, the early childhood world, and it would be easy for them to identify. And then Hillary's going to talk a lot about our social media campaign. So I'm actually going to skip over that one so that she can dive into that in a minute. And I'll just go over some of the opportunities for future work that we've identified. The first is really language awareness. So it's something that we're building into the social media campaign, and we're thinking about with our work there. And also there's going to be infinite opportunities, I think, to continue to work on that moving forward. We've talked a lot about, you know, how important language is and how the words we say mean something, and they attach meaning and value to roles, responsibilities, the way we talk about this work. And so I think one of those examples that I know I've heard Amy O say a lot on the 9:30 call is just childcare and not using the term daycare to describe what happens in early education and care. So we see that sort of broadly as an area of future work. One idea that came up at our work group was partnering with EC 101, which is the website that I know we've talked about on the 9:30 call, that was developed by the Early Childhood Funders Collaborative. And they have a page on there where there's a glossary of terms. So an opportunity to kind of build out and further develop that glossary of terms to maybe add some additional content there was one idea that came out from our work group. The next one is really this idea of like a statewide public awareness campaign. So we've looked at a bunch of examples across the country where they've done something like this. The first 2,000 days is one of those examples. We're really interested to both learn more about what has worked with those sort of statewide campaigns, where are they effective, where are they maybe not effective. And I think the important thing that's stood out to us a lot is how do we tie that to something and how do we make that meaningful for parents and families? And I think there's really an opportunity there to tie that to this idea of like clear and consistent branding for early childhood programs and services. So if we were to do some work in that area to establish a clear and consistent brand in Massachusetts of early childhood programs and services, there would also be an opportunity to attach a campaign to that as well. And then the final piece is just community opportunities. So organizing opportunities for community dialogue. So whether it's a movie screening or a museum exhibit or a children's fair, opportunities to really make early childhood visible at the local level. And then this idea of better understanding the needs of residents in a community really came out in our work group too. And whether it's a survey or a city census questionnaire, some way for local communities to better understand their residents' needs, and to make that more clear at the local level. And then I'm going to turn it over to actually, I think I'll just put this one in the chat. We'd love to hear your feedback. So I went through those sort of 5 components that we're thinking about for recommendations. If you have feedback on any of the 5 that I've shared so far, please add them to the chat. If you think that there's something else that we should consider that we haven't discussed yet, please add that to the chat. And I'm going to turn it over to Hillary and let her go through the social media campaign, and then we'll leave some time at the end for some discussion, and we can go through the chat and look at those responses there. So Hillary, back to you.
Thank you so much. So we are, again, focused on a social media campaign, really zooming in on Instagram right now. Haven't really, we've kind of decided to stay with Instagram and not go to Facebook and LinkedIn, although we had a conversation about if that's possible yesterday. But we are working right now to begin this, and at early childhood agenda is where you will find us. So you can start to follow that. I think it already does exist, although we don't have any content there. We have, again, set it out into stages, and we thought about these buckets, right? All this information that I talked about that we parse down. Number 1, our first goal is to introduce, of course, the campaign. We've named it Wicked Smart Stat. We love the catchiness of that, but we think that's a great hashtag where people can easily remember that and tag us. We hope that that makes for easy engagement. So Wicked Smart Start is where we're starting. We want to introduce what the campaign is, why it exists, and also how to engage with a campaign. So we have a reel designed for that. Our second reel talks about, and it's about 10 slides that can be used for a reel, as well as 10 separate posts. It talks about why the first 2,000 days are critical. It defines that as 0 to 5. It talks about the synapses and the brain development that happens there. And it's kind of an early childhood introduction. That's our first bucket. Second bucket is moving into playful learning. And then these next 5 tabs have 5 sections of information that we really want to key in. So with playful learning, we're talking about the definition of what that is, how play can happen anywhere, how well prepared and educators are, connections with an adult is really important, and so on. So each of these next 5 buckets has a series of maybe 5 posts or 5 reels that can, again, be broken up into separate posts. And we hope, again, to have all of this campaign information developed right now. Playful learning and the first 2,000 days and the introduction are the reels that are ready to go. So we've got the first maybe 30% of it designed. But we want to, again, as we said, see how people interact with the content before we move on to create the rest. What did I miss, Marissa? So keep me in the loop if there's anything that I missed. So please follow us. We're excited to launch soon. We're hoping around mid-September. We're working to design, as I said, a very interactive campaign. It's our intention so this is one of the first posts. We believe that the children of Massachusetts deserve the best start possible. It is our goal to bring early childhood to the forefront and help our partners promote the important work that they do. So every single child, we talk about child's rights, every child has the right to a healthy start, and every single child in Massachusetts deserves a wicked smart start. So next slide. This campaign is for anyone in the life of a young child. So we've come up with some language. Are you a teacher, caregiver, parent, grandparent, educator, specialist? Let us know, put it in the chat if there's some title that we've missed, but we want to make sure we capture any single person in this campaign. If you're in the life of a child, this is for you. So we are encouraging people to tag others, invite others, and hopefully, and these are actual posts, samples of posts. And the next slide is about tagging us. So we are hoping on every single Friday to have an engagement Friday where we will encourage people to share their ideas, celebrate the work they're doing, tag friends, tag one friend, or respond to a prompt. Anyone who engages will be entered in our drawing for a $25 Amazon gift card. And we hope that this is enough incentive to get people to move forward. Our challenge here, and this is what we're hoping to really kind of pause our presentation and use the last 10 minutes for feedback, is we are, what some of our prompts are like, go ahead. Is it the next slide, an example of an engagement slide? I think you have that on the next. Yeah. So we talk about, building a brain and brain architecture. And then our first engagement Friday is as a sample post is share your favorite brain building material. And we zoomed in on materials because we know that people are going to be kind of possibly reluctant to share images of their children or children that they're working with, or there might be permissions. And then again, in the playful learning section, you'll see how the slides on the bottom of each slide, it has kind of the header. We ask people to share how everyday moments can be playful and supportive of the child. So really we want to, I don't know what, if there's more slides that we want to discuss, but this is two samples here of would you be willing to share a photo? How can we encourage people to engage? Do you have other ideas or prompts or questions about how to bring this forward? Because, we can always take children's pictures from the backs of heads and just get their hands. I don't know if you follow Dan. We talked about him yesterday, but on LinkedIn, he's got parents sending in amazing videos of infants and parents. But we want to be able to do this respectfully and not to, because we don't know where our content is going to end up either, because we're asking everybody to tag us. So we want to be really mindful about asking anyone to share anything that has sensitivity to it. So yeah, we're running out of time. It's 9:51. So we'd really love to hear your feedback and thoughts about that. And then we're also going to be reaching out to understand, like, how do you see yourself interacting with this content? What do you think the challenge and successes might be? And what can we do to get this content to you, to our number one priority contacts, and all the number ones and the number twos and the number threes, but definitely the number ones, the parents and everybody in the life of a child immediately today. So we're going to open it up to chats.
Thanks,
or
Hillary.
conversations. Thank you. Let me know if I missed anything, Marissa, because I think we have so much.
Comments in the chat. So Titus added something to the chat and said that as a member of Workgroup 4 that they're really interested in seeing some posts related to screening and referrals, which I know was one part that came up.
That's our last section, is a healthy start for sure.
Exactly.
And we had talked about, I had already met at a spring meeting actually. I met with someone in that group and we said, as soon as we get to that, we're going to hook up. But that's the content we're holding off on to see. But definitely, thank you, Titus.
Yeah, it'll be great to build that out.
I agree.
And then Brian asked if there were any current posts. So no, we're looking at a September 15th launch date. I actually love that you searched for it though, Brian, because this was one of the things that we were really aware of also, was making sure that when you do search for Wicked Smart Start, nothing else comes up. Right. So that was something, I'm glad that worked on your end also. And then yes, we're looking forward to the next steps there. Okay, so we have about 10 minutes left for engagement. I think what I'd like to do is I'm going to launch the Zoom poll that we have. It's really quick. What we're really trying to do with the Zoom poll is kind of get at this first bucket here in green, which is like, how do you see yourself interacting with this content? And then if you have any comments related to the second and third buckets, you can add them in chat, or I mean, honestly, I'd love to have anyone come live and share their perspectives on camera as well. So the second and third buckets are really about, like, do you anticipate any challenges or successes? We've talked a lot about photo permissions from a professional side. So if you're a professional working with young children, that's obviously going to be a component of this. So how do we support that? Do we need to create some templates? Do we need to have conversations with early childhood professionals about photo permissions and kind of help ease that process? Should we give examples of how you can maybe engage with the posts where you don't have to have a photo permission, where you can, it's just taking a picture of the child's hands working with a material or from behind so you can't see the front of their face. We've talked a lot about some of those sort of potential barriers that might exist. And I know Hillary mentioned that too, but just the general sort of concern around children being on social media in general. So those are some of the things that we've talked about, but curious if you all have any other anticipated challenges or successes. And then the final bucket is really, how do we get this content out to the ones? So on that first few slides in the beginning, when we talk about elevating voices, the ones are really people who either are the caregivers of young children and under the age of 8, or that work with them every day. So how do we think about sort of promoting this across the Early Childhood Agenda Partnership and the 9:30 call and getting this content to the number ones? So with that, I am going to stop sharing screen and I'm going to launch the poll. And if anyone has any thoughts or comments related to any of those questions, feel free to put them in the chat and then we can circle back to them as soon as the poll is finished. All right, so you should be able to see the poll now. There's 3 questions in the poll. So the first one is, if you participate, you will be entered into a weekly draw to win a $25 gift card. Is this a good incentive? So really just trying to gauge whether this is something that would matter to any of you, if this is something that you'd sort of be incentivized by to participate in social media, and if you have a sense of if that's sort of a good next step for us. The second question is, what is your preferred form of engagement? So we ask you really to rank your top 5 choices here. There are 5 different options. So the first is creating a post on your Instagram account or your businesses or your organization's Instagram account that responds to a prompt that does not include a child's face. So it could be a picture of materials, a picture of someone's hands working with something, anything else where it is a post, but it doesn't include a child's face. The second option is tagging 5 people in the comments. The third is liking and sharing posts from Early Childhood Agenda on Instagram. The fourth is creating a post on your Instagram account that responds to the prompt but does include a child's face. And then the fifth is commenting on posts. So really just trying to get a sense of your all's feedback in terms of engagement and what's helpful and maybe what's not helpful there. And then the final one is really just an optional long answer. If you have any feedback for us that you don't maybe feel comfortable putting in the chat, but you want to share over Zoom, feel free to add a long response there. And Liz, I see you are off camera. Do you want to add anything else about some of the work we've done so far and the questions we've been grappling with?
No, I think you guys have done a great job summing it up. I'm excited to hear some feedback. I think we were kind of trying to take a lot of information and make it digestible for Instagram. So I just thank you for having us, and I am curious to hear feedback. Thanks, Marissa.
Thanks. All right, we have about a third of the people on the 9:30 call have participated so far. So we'll give it another maybe 2 minutes to get some more responses and then go from there.
Marissa, there's a question in the chat about being able to see the poll.
Edna, you should be able to, I don't know if it works on phones though, actually, Amy. Have we run into that in the past where it's a problem?
I was just thinking that.
Okay, Edna, I'll read the questions again, and if you want to put it in the chat, you can do that too, or if you want to private message me, that's fine too. But the first one is really just about whether a $25 gift card is a good incentive. And then the second question is about preferred forms of engagement. So whether you would be more likely to create an Instagram post, tag people in comments, like and share anything from the account, create a post that includes a child's face, or comment on posts. Does work on phones, says Luz. Thank you, Luz. Either way, though, we can accommodate. All right, we are at 17 of 33, so I might give it one more minute and then we will wrap it up. See, Donna likes the name Wicked Smart Start. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, we came up with a lot of options there. So that was a journey to get to that one. I'm glad that people are interested in
That's
that
always
though.
hard.
Thanks, Edna. So yeah, Instagram's good, but not showing the kids' faces, just hands or something like that instead. That's really helpful. All right, we have 2 minutes left. So I am really curious, if anyone wants to, share a perspective live, do you have any thoughts on how we can share this content, how we can reach out to different partners? On our call yesterday, one of the partners on our work group meeting was suggesting that, they would want to share it with their network and their sort of email list and get it out to their partners in Worcester, and that they're hoping that through that it'll kind of reach the number ones in the Worcester community. So I'm curious if anyone has any feedback on that piece or on just the successes and challenges, and if you see any potential barriers for us all.
Edna wonders about WhatsApp.
Yeah, that's a great idea too,
So
Edna.
like if you have the post already created, you can share it kind of in any form.
That is a great idea. All right.
And love all these ideas. So targeted and clear. Awesome job.
So I just ended the poll. You should be able to see the results now. So what I'm seeing here is for the first question, we have about 70% that said that yes, a $25 gift card is a good incentive. About 5% say no, and about 25% say maybe. So that's really helpful information for us too, and if that will help kind of increase engagement or if it isn't really that effective. And then the second question, what is your preferred form of engagement? All right. So it seems like the number one choice maybe is like and share posts from the early childhood agenda. And then about 90% said they would comment on posts. And then we're in around the 80s or 85 for creating a post of their own or tagging people in the comments. A couple people said that was their first choice, but most people said that was their fifth choice. This is really helpful, everyone. Thank you so much.
It's so helpful, and and the higher numbers help us that it's in the 80s and the 90s rather than like the 50s and the 60s. So we're really grateful. That kind of puts us at ease to move forward with the way that the trajectory we had planned. So thank you so much.
And it is 10:01, so we are right on time. Magically.
Well, as always, if you are interested in this, you can always join the work group. If you go to earlychildhoodagenda.org, you can sign up for the work groups there on Basecamp. Thanks to Hillary and to Marissa. You guys did an excellent job of presentation and feedback. We know half an hour is tight. We also are recording this, so we'll add this to the YouTube playlist for the Early Childhood Agenda. And thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. The 9:30 call will be off on Monday as we acknowledge Labor Day, get ready for September transitions, which we will be, there'll be a day next week to talk about the September transitions. Donna had a question in chat that was off topic about the C3 grants. So we will talk more about that next week. We also have reached out to Commissioner Kershaw to book her for the fall to continue her 9:30 call appearances after the board meetings. So stay tuned for that. Hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. We know this is a time of year that can be exciting and also anxiety producing. So we are sending 9:30 call love to each of you. Have a great weekend, and we will see you next week.